The Eastern Partnership Culture Program has been initiated by the European Commission in cooperation with the 6 governments of the Eastern Partnership countries: Armenia, Azerbaijan, Belarus, Georgia, Moldova and Ukraine. And it started with a public call in 2010, to which 180 applications have answered. That was a call for regional projects that would provide capacity building to the cultural sector in these 6 countries, at the condition that the project be regional, involving more than one country, and providing capacity building to the single professions or fields, subsectors of culture, but in a very, very large and open sense. The Commission then selected 15 projects out of these 180 grants and created, in addition, a unit of experts, which is the Eastern Part, the Regional Monitoring and Capacity Building Unit. That's our team, of which I am the team leader, with the idea that we support the projects in their implementation, in their managing their projects, helping them also to comply with the requirements of the European Union. And in addition, to complement the activity of the project that were subsector specific. So the book platform project, for instance, was working with publishers, Directors Across Borders was working with filmmakers, and so on. Each project had its specific target group, while we were meant to complement the activities, this capacity building, sector-specific capacity building of projects, with regard to national and local authorities. Always also in combination and involving civil society actors, but addressing specifically the national and the local authorities that were not a target group of the projects. So our task was to think about how do we propose a capacity building to the ministries and local authorities that would contribute to policy reforms. Our idea has been to organize 2 cycles of workshops, one in 2013 and one in 2014, where in 2013 we thought we talk about strategic thinking, developing strategies, developing culture policies, culture strategies as a general objective, as well for cities, municipalities, as for the national level, and then to move in 2014 to implementation of these strategies. That's what we have done in 2013, talking about strategies. We then realized that we were not yet really ready to move to the next stage of implementing strategies, because we realized that there was one major need that we still had to cover, which was that in order to develop strategies, what the stakeholders, officers in the ministries, in the local authorities, but also within civil society, everybody had more or less the same difficulty, was in to analyzing and understanding how to analyze the situation and the problems, from where then strategies could be deducted. Meaning, a strategy is not just a piece of paper, it has to be something that comes out of a joint analysis of a situation of all involved stakeholders, so that at the end there is an idea, a joint idea, a common idea of what's the way is to go for improving the situation. And that's a whole process that we realized we have still to go through exercises that would transmit the concrete understanding to the people interested in these processes, what the steps are to be implemented, and that's what we have been doing. The RMCBU has been doing capacity building, but also regarding trying to motivate and promote policy reform, but also the projects had an activity that addressed policy reforms. Not all of them, but many. For instance, a project like Heritage Crafts in the South Caucasus elaborated recommendations regarding the sector, and for instance, they made a beautiful international conference in Tbilisi in 2013, end of 2013, on the notion of culture as a factor for economic growth with fantastic speakers from all over the world. So they were doing more than just training heritage craftsmen. A project like Directors Across Borders elaborated recommendations in connection with the study that they did on the audiovisual sectors in the countries that they work with. A project like Kokedoc, which was a South Caucasian documentary development program. They made manuals for teachers how to use films, documentary films in schools for Armenia and for Georgia, in cooperation for the ministries of education. That's also a cooperation that we are interested in, cross-sectorial, reaching beyond the culture sector and beyond ministries of cultures alone. And the book platform has done policy recommendations for the publishing sector. So there were many of such activities also at the level of projects. The 15 projects, they were implementing their activity independently from each other. Now, these workshops allowed us to bring them together, sit around the table, discuss about topics that are of common interests that regard all of them. That's why they are called cross-cutting topic workshops. And by these workshops, the projects gained the awareness that they belong to a larger program, the Eastern Partnership Culture Program, and they're part of the network and the family of this program. That was the one effect. The other effect, which the projects very much also appreciated, was to give them an opportunity to look at what they do from a broader perspective by exchanging with their colleagues. And in that sense, I think that alone justified any type of workshop that we could propose to discuss about joint topics. Now, we had, in addition, two specific topics on which at least I personally had a high interest. One was ownership and sustainability. Ownership meaning that the projects are really driven by culture actors, civil society stakeholders, people out of the culture sector of your countries, of the Eastern Partnership countries, and that the projects are run in a way that it creates a chance for any continuation in the future, so that there is not one-off activities through a project that gets money from the European Union and then everything stops. The second topic that was essential was alliance building and cultural leadership. In my opinion, there is it's not my opinion, it's a finding in these countries that social organization is low, that civil society is not yet capable to formulate and express their interests and to defend them and to represent them towards government. And so any international cooperation should support this alliance building, and this requires people to take initiative, to take a leading role in this process, and that's why we wanted to talk about alliance building and about cultural leadership. The Regional Monitoring and Capacity Building Unit had an additional activity. That was not one that we would initiate, but that was depending on requests that we would receive from authorities, no matter whether local or national, from authorities that addressed to us for country-specific technical assistance, meaning specific support for problems that they wanted to address and for which they were requesting support from the Eastern Partnership Culture Program. And for the first 3 years, we were repeating this possibility at any possible occasion, but no request came up. And we were already almost convinced that, okay, either we are not trustworthy or we are not convincing enough in what we are proposing. it doesn't look like we will have a lot to do in this field. And I must say that we are pretty happy and also proud for the recent developments that partly, I believe, are the result of trust that we built and the quality of relationship that we developed over the previous 3 years through these capacity building activities and workshops that we organized for representatives and delegations from ministries and local authorities. Then obviously, partly we have also been supported by the specific political developments in at least 2 countries, which are Ukraine and Georgia, that maybe favored a more open attitude of authorities towards us. I must say that we had from the beginning a very, very good relationship to local authorities in Ukraine, partly also in Georgia, but more limited to 1 or 2 cities. In Georgia it was Tbilisi and the city of Gori, while in Ukraine it was local authorities all across the country. So there has been the awareness in both ministries that there is a need for a culture policy reform, and that at the center of this initiative should be the elaboration of a national policy document. The discussions and negotiations that I had with the 2 ministries convinced them that it was not that much about writing a paper, because that could be easily done by any expert. It was about launching a process that would involve, in an inclusive and participatory way, culture stakeholders from all parts of society, and that then at the end the result should be a paper, obviously, but a paper that is being shared based on a consensus created in the sector, and where the culture sector together with the ministry share the same vision on where the culture sector should go, what the next steps are in order to strengthen the role of culture and to make it a real contributor to social and economic and human development of their societies. And right now there are 2 roadmaps proposed by the experts to the ministries on how the process should be developed over the course of the next 12 to 18 months. That is being discussed, and I expect then from late October on, then the work will start in launching this process. So that's more than we would ever have expected at the beginning of the program, to have 2 countries, 2 ministries that at the real top level are committed to launch such an inclusive participatory process within the cultural sectors of their society. I've been talking by now a lot of what the projects and the units of experts in the regional monitoring and capacity building unit have been doing, in the sense of what the overall program has doing in the Eastern Partnership countries themselves. Maybe to give a complete picture, there is one aspect to be added, which is on the one side that the project and our activity has created opportunities that led to the building of networks of culture stakeholders from the region. Meaning, for instance, many people from the 15 projects, after having met 4 times in workshop, discover that they have joint interests, that they have common topics to work on, and there were different occasions where people were discussing, shouldn't we create a network of culture stakeholders in the Eastern Partnership? There were discussions about ideas like, shouldn't we create something like an Eastern Partnership Culture Foundation? Or should we have a joint platform through which we exchange? And this idea of network is not only an idea of networking within the region itself, but also to see this as a tool to connect stronger with European Union partners. Because that was also one of the objectives of our program, to not only support initiatives and cooperation within the region and among the 6 Eastern Partnership countries, but also to develop and support and foster cooperation between the European Union partners and Eastern Partnership partners. And there is no tangible result yet in terms of such a network, but I hope that with the remaining activities that we will have a conference in November, the 2nd regional conference of the Eastern Partnership Culture Program, and then there will be a next phase starting from February next year for another 3 years that will continue this capacity building in the region, and I hope and I expect that this will contribute to the creation of such a network that I really believe is very needed and very reasonable to create as a platform of debate and exchange for culture actors to get out of the isolation of the single countries and to have this wider perspective which helps everybody to understand what the needs are and how best they can represent their interest in front of national government on the one side, but also in front of the European Union on the other side.